$235,000, $235,216. For the equipment, we spent $27,632.34. Materials, which includes sand, salt, is $55,980, and for gas and fuel is $11,252.70.
Was that all the contractors' bills? Are they all in? Pretty much, or-
I believe we have all of them in. I'm gonna give one final kind of call around tomorrow just to make sure.
But that's cool. I mean,
That's,
as
that's
best you
pretty
got,
well
right?
up to date. That's through, I know that it's through that 4-week blitz that we had. We had all these things.
No, the 373, your budget is 100,000,
Yep.
so is it actually 473 or
No,
273?
that's the total
So
we
the
spent.
273.
273, 456.
Okay.
I know it's a very large number, and a
I
very
just like to-
scary number.
I'd just like to say, from somebody that was in the business until I retired this year, which I picked a good year to retire, I guess. The highway department did a great job. I mean, it's one thing that, even in my experience, you see a deficit like that and nobody really complains too much because it's a safety issue. It's getting people to school. It's getting people out to work again. Snow is, it's different every storm, and it's really blood money that goes into here. It's not something that, firemen go so far, and I don't mean to pick on the fire department. They go to the fire, put it out, and that's it. But with a snowstorm, you're out there after many days after cleaning up, salt and sanding roads. Every night it freezes up again. You're out every night. It's a lot of wear and tear on the body, as well as family life and whatever. And I just want to commend our department for doing a great job. And I think it's money well spent. And hopefully the FEMA gives us 75%, which I hear that they're going to maybe expand this beyond that one storm. We could probably, I'm guessing, reduce this baby by 150 or 200,
Yeah.
somewhere in that range, just guessing.
Fingers crossed, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's very unprecedented what the state's trying to do,
Yeah.
going to the federal government, looking for this reimbursement for that 4-week period. It's
Yeah.
usually on a storm-by-storm basis, where these storms came in every 7 days, and then you would have, a 2 to 4 inch snowfall in between that time. It just gave you no time whatsoever to kind of get caught up.
Yeah, and I watched the selectmen's meeting last night, and your form of documenting everything is important, because when FEMA comes in, the more paperwork you throw at them, the more they will go along with your rationale and your numbers. So, I know that was something you instituted, so I think that's a good move on that part too.
Mr. Chairman, so actually the FinCom should have a replica of what the selectmen have. And Mr. Snow undertook this year the development of the department policies, so Snow and I's operational plan. It's still in draft form, but he has been working hard on that. And that sheet, snowstorm log sheet's in there, so you can see the kind of things he's put together. And last year, the acting highway surveyor prepared a updated snow contractor contract that was reviewed by the town's insurance carrier. So you have a number of documents in there that kind of show what's been going on in the highway department.
Okay.
Is this on the website? Is this on your website?
No, it's not.
I mean, that might be something you might want to put on there, because I know people do go to the websites. I mean, I know I used to keep the snow totals. People would go there and see how much snow we had, but, putting the policy right on there, I think answers a lot of people's questions as to what the priority is.
Yep.
People think, where the selectmen live, they get the first streets plowed, but technically sometimes it is, because they have to be somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
I can attest that doesn't happen.
No, but there's nothing wrong with that, because there is, a priority list, like, cemeteries usually get last on the list, but not only the streets we're doing, you're doing sidewalks too, which people don't realize, and I didn't see that in here. You may want to tell people how many miles of sidewalk that you do, because that takes a lot of time
Yes.
after a storm, so.
Do you also do the fire hydrants, or is that the fire department?
That's
I don't know what he
a
does,
combination
but-
of the water and fire.
Okay.
We did a system this year with the hydrants, just
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
So
just
it
curious how
might be a
many
couple miles.
residents actually shovel them out versus the town having to do it.
from what I noticed, because I felt like I left my house January 26th. I finally got home, around March 1st. People were keeping up with them, but I think once we finally got over that, 8-foot mark after week 3, people were kind of throwing their hands up in the air. But I mean, everybody did a great job this winter.
Okay, any other questions, comments on snow removal? Okay, thank you very much, Pat.
No problem. You know,
So, Mr. Chairman,
Krista,
the
move it.
Finance Committee has required then to approve that deficit spending on page 1.
The cover page.
Yeah, cover page. So I'll make the motion that we approve
one has to be-
273,000, I think it's 456.22.
456.19.
It's 22.
22?
Last night was,
Oh, okay.
is it 273, 456.22?
73, yeah, it's,
Went up last
273,
night.
456 and 22 cents.
Yep,
Okay,
I make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
okay,
I will second that.
all right.
I've got a question. If FEMA comes through then with 75 or whatever % of this 273,000 deficit, that frees up the money that the town otherwise would have to pay, right?
Yeah, that money goes back, I think, back into the general account. So it
Yeah.
has to be
General
appropriated by town meeting again, right? So it's just, yeah, it's gonna go back into another bank, but
Okay.
we still have to spend it through the town, right, this way, this
Yeah,
process.
it would come in as, like state, like almost like a grant money, general, goes right into the general fund, it would be subject to appropriation at town meeting. So, but usually if you're dealing with FEMA, it could take at least a year,
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to-
I mean, it's not a,
impractical.
it's not a
Okay.
lightning.
It's not like
Yeah.
summer.
It's not like they're
It might
coming
be
down
next
tomorrow,
fiscal year.
going
Yeah.
to everything. It's quite a lengthy process.
So it could be the next fiscal
Fiscal
year.
year.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
at least.
Debbie, do you want me to sign?
So,
This-
if you need after the vote, the members that are approving it should sign it. You can use yours, if that's okay.
Sure. But mine isn't filled in at all.
If you wanna, if you write the date, I think Mr. Roy made the motion for the amount of the job.
Yep.
Write that in today's date.
Okay,
Can I see the amount?
It's 273, 456, 22 cents. Do we want to just put a reason on that, just, snow deficit, or where it says reason, comment? I'm guessing.
It says it right up here.
Yeah, well, this, you can fill it in there too. I guess it's there. So if we have any more storms, which hopefully we won't, then we'd have to go through another one of these, probably at the end of the snow season, which is
Yeah,
hopefully
we'll
soon.
try to stay on better, top of this, it was just so much was happening
Yep.
so quickly.
Yeah.
We hadn't had a chance to reconcile in the bills
Peter?
coming in and
Oh.
finally got it on the agenda.
Right.
Yeah, when I was in Linfield, I'd have to go 2 or 3 times. I used to do it in little chunks, just to,
Yeah,
Keep-
we should have,
Yeah.
retrospective, it was just almost every Monday I was working and it was a snowstorm and, we couldn't get him in here if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Right.
They all seemed to be on a Sunday and a Monday, I
Yes,
just
it
remember
was,
driving home and
I
in
mean,
a blizzard and everything else.
it was really
It's tough to
something.
get 'em
I need
Yeah.
to abstain.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Did
yeah.
did we vote to,
Exactly, I mean, when they say it's
approve
shattered
it?
every record,
No,
it's
you
shattered
didn't
every
vote.
record, but
I didn't think so.
snowfall.
They have a second.
okay, could I have, now that we've signed our lives away, can I have a vote to approve the deficit?
I,
Aye,
I abstain.
okay.
I seem to be related to someone that plows.
Okay, I'll leave this up here, needs to be filled in. Okay, Well, again, thanks, Patrick.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing such a good job.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much,
great
and
job,
I believe I'll be seeing you all next week as well.
Okay.
Why, there's another snowstorm?
Regular
My
budget?
is up for next week.
Have a good one.
Okay, that takes care of all of our planned meetings, so let's see if we can go to town council.
Okay, and water is still just a draft, right, so we don't do anything with that tonight?
Yeah, they're talking about it tonight.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're not gonna, are we gonna discuss the water at all?
Uh,
Yeah, probably will.
let's see, is it on our
Item
schedule?
7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
item 7.
Right. Okay, so let's go with town council, 114,600 level funded.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Sharon makes, have a second?
I'll second.
Can I ask a question?
Sure can.
What I just wanted to know what the increase, why the professional and the council and the litigation almost doubled, is that because of the situation that happened with the water? The people in the water department why did the litigation go up double?
Litigation's level funded.
It's level, yeah.
But it went up from
Yeah, but
14 to
I'm talking-
15.
Yeah, but I'm talking about from 14 to 15, I know I'm backtracking.
That's what I spent, that's what I spent.
You
So I returned, half of that to the town.
You returned,
So half of that was not spent. That's all, that's an actual,
well, the 30,705 is an actual, you're
it's
saying?
an actual. I know it says appropriated, but it's an actual.
Oh, that's an actual?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's what was, 62,000 is what was really appropriated then for this,
62,000 was
for
appropriated.
2014? Okay.
Okay, any other questions, discussion? Okay, we'll take a motion to recommend town council, oh, I already have it. Okay, take a vote then, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, and that town council is done. Personnel board,
I'll make a motion.
oh,
level.
I have to find it then
It's level
first.
fund. You don't have them in the right order, that's the problem.
Everything was going to the bottom, okay? Okay, $399, okay. So Sharon makes the motion,
I'll second.
Janet second. Any discussion on the $399? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Personnel, town clerk. Election, register of voters and constables. Are these all separate? Do we have to vote on these separately, or?
You could do them in the group if you want. As the selectmen, did not vote on, election, if there was a conflict issue, but, they are separate line items. So it's how, if you want, if it's easier to just do the group, that's fine.
Let's
Just
try to
within
do the group.
guidelines.
Okay,
The group being what?
the 4 items.
The four different.
Town clerk,
One,
elections.
2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Register of
But
voters and
You've got them
constables.
separated
Oh,
out
I see.
here in the
Yeah,
back.
yep.
There was an interesting comment on the news tonight that we may not have a March primary, presidential primary, because the governor has cut the budget for the, for,
Yeah, I see that too.
Just a question, I mean, it's not material in the numbers, but how come this budget isn't in the same format as the others? With the
She has
percentages and-
historically prepared them this way. That's how they seem to come in. I don't know if that's tied to her record keeping. So they're not in the template that we have of, that you're used to seeing.
Yeah, the percentages are just nice to,
Yeah, no, I
To look at.
understand.
Yep, I agree.
and then, you can't really tell if the fiscal year 13 is actuals or appropriated amounts, I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
for salary, I'm sure it's actual. So I guess that answers my question. I'm assuming they're all actuals.
Okay, to have a
Well, how is
motion,
it that the,
Yeah.
I'm just looking at
Sure.
election wages, that's supposed to be actual for FY 14, and then it goes back up to 4,080, 14,
It's based on the number of elections.
The number of elections, Peter.
The
okay.
number of elections and the type of election. Some elections are 7 in the morning till 8 at night, others are noontime to 8. Depending on whether it's a town election or whether it's a state election or a federal election.
So I'm looking, I'm thinking she probably put in the appropriated in the 14 column.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the 4 budgets?
I'll make
for
that
the town
motion.
clerk? Okay, Sharon. And do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, call for a vote. All those in favor of accepting, can I do the 4 even though
Oh, sure. if
the other one wasn't approved by the
Yeah, no,
selectmen?
that's fine.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, those 4 pass.
That'll be a relief to her. That's over and done with. Her mother passed away. The funeral's
Right.
tomorrow.
She was unable to
Sorry.
come tonight.
Yeah.
She,
Yeah.
she whatever
Yeah.
she could have, but
Yeah.
she's, dealing with the loss of her mother.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, information services is next.
There it is. It was hiding.
Okay,
It was upside down and backwards.
You got it right side up and forward.
Yeah.
Yep.
this is most information services. Okay, to have a motion to recommend information services budget.
So moved.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion on $24,422? No? Okay.
Well, it's a 15% increase, but,
Well, from 14 to,
what's that?
15 to 16.
You go on
0%.
15 to 16.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking
It's
at,
le-
I'm looking
yeah,
at 14 to 15, but,
right.
It's level funded.
okay, but, okay.
I believe they needed to buy some new software.
Okay.
I think something like that was stated at the selectmen's meeting last night.
Let's see, did I take a vote?
Yep, not yet, but
Okay,
Yep.
so, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And, okay, information down,
Mr.
zoning.
Chairman,
Yes,
the audio is still broadcasting. The video, they're having some problems with.
okay. Well, we'll
Peter's
continue
blocking,
right
I
on.
didn't notice.
What's that, you blocking?
Yeah, no, I didn't notice it was out.
Oh.
Okay, zoning board of appeals is next.
Why isn't that, I mean, I don't know, the zoning board of appeals, that wouldn't, fall under the planning board, it's a separate entity?
Yep.
Planning board are elected, zoning board of appeals are appointed,
Okay.
two separate boards.
Operate under a different zoning statute.
I don't think I have that one. Can I look on?
Level funded.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Okay, have a motion to accept.
I'll second that.
Dennis seconds. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, next is town hall and annex. Should be easier, my pile's getting lower, but no, there's annex and town hall. Okay, let's take town hall first. Just as a general aside, does anyone check the wage increases, the actual numbers, to see if they're within the guidelines?
Well, I do,
Okay,
especially this employee reports to me, so.
no, but I just mean in the other
The payroll
departments,
Oh, yeah, I usually do the payroll calculation sheets for most of the department excluding library, police.
but they do, or someone else checks their calculations to make sure that they're,
I do, or that's what happened with the planner, I had an error and I corrected it, and then I realized his schedule was different, he's 22 hours a week, so that when the fiscal year starts on a Wednesday, I have to account for what hours he works actually, because he's
3
paid on an
days,
hourly basis, so I do check most of them.
right.
Except police, I do not, library, I do not. And the town clerk, I don't, even though I do the template, she only has one hourly employee that works in there,
Right.
her administrative assistant, otherwise she's elected.
Okay,
This is minimal, but why is there a 0.8% decrease in wage?
Because we have a new employee, so he starts at a lower pay
Okay.
rate.
That's all I wanted to know.
okay, do I have a motion for the town hall annex budget recommendation?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
A second.
Have a second, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, that passes, and now to the annex.
Weren't they on the same one?
The janitors for both,
Yeah.
but their expenses are in separate
Right,
lines.
I don't have a breakdown of what the expenses are, but they're level, so.
Yeah.
It looks
Where's
like
town hall?
prior years they spent more than what
Yeah,
they.
that's the
they're asking for
20,000,
now,
this
so.
is 17,000 for the annex.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll make-
I just realized it's, you know what, when these were last minute, we added, we
Mhm.
haven't even gotten to the selectmen, I forgot to put the detail sheet on there. You wanna hold off
Yeah,
I mean,
to do
does, do
that, it's level funded,
you feel comfortable with that? I mean, with all the
Doesn't,
new work going on down the annex, there's no added cost that we need to put in there?
well, there always are in a,
Yep.
a building that was built in 1904, but, they're level funded at this
Yeah,
point.
okay.
I'll follow the guidelines. And we converted to natural gas, that's actually saved a lot in that building. The changeover from heating oil was a big savings, so. We usually come to you guys when we run out of money.
yeah. Do you wanna hold off on this or vote on it tonight?
I think we can vote on it, I mean, Sarah presented
Okay,
it.
fine.
I'll make a motion,
And you
Mr.
have a
Chairman.
motion?
I'll
Have a
second.
second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Good. Animal control and inspector. And again, these are two separate ones, so we'll take animal control first. And that's
Hey, Debbie, what department does animal control and animal inspector fall under?
Selectmen,
Selectmen? No one ever addressed
appointed by
that.
the selectmen.
Oh.
Is the asterisk after the title just to signify it's part-time?
No, I don't know why that probably carried over from some long time. think
I was
it
looking for a legend for it, but
I think
There's
that, a
something
few
on the
years
next
ago, the
page.
selectmen, maybe about 2 years ago, assigned a new pay rate for this position. That's why that asterisk was on, and it, every year I just say, redo the dates. That's why
Okay.
sometimes it says actual, and not appropriate or whatever. That's what I think that was. But he's in the step system, Reed Wilson, and has been for about 2 years.
He does both jobs.
He actually holds both positions coincidentally.
Right.
But he's on 24/7.
Oh, call, yeah.
And really faithfully responds to any calls that we get through this office of police.
My age is showing. I remember when it used to be $1 a day. And leap year, he got an extra $1.
Yeah, he was very helpful in ridding some things that were not wanted next door. So, have a motion to accept the animal control budget.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, have a motion.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Animal control is done, animal inspector next. Okay. Sorry, we don't do do-overs. Okay, animal inspector.
make the motion.
Okay.
And I'll
Janet makes
second.
a motion.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, did you
second.
make a motion?
I did.
Janet made the motion, Jamie seconded. Any other discussion on animal inspector? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And done. Memorial Day, Vets Day. And done. Memorial Day, Vets Day. Okay, 1800 level funded. Have a motion to accept the Memorial Day, Veterans Day budget.
Moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll
Have a
second it.
motion. Seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that passes. We'll call it blanket insurance.
We don't have
Because I have two.
that.
Okay.
What's all that, can, does somebody, Deb, explain?
Yes, so the first line is the unemployment, so we are in the reimbursable unit with the Division of Unemployment Assistance, so we have to pay on a case-by-case basis, so we do have to have money in there just in case, and I I know it may be frustrating. We have cases we're paying for people that have not been laid off by the town of Rowley. They've been laid off from other employers, they work part-time, the other employees pay their share, and then they come after subsidiary employers such as the town of Rowley, and we end up paying the difference in the wages, of what they would have got and what the state believes we should pay. So we do utilize that in this case in the water department right now, that's not reflected also in this budget. We have a separate line for unemployment in the water enterprise budget, but we still handle those cases and appeal them to the extent that we can successfully win. So we do have to keep money in there and level funding it, hoping that, there won't be any issues here with internally, any layoffs. A blanket insurance is just the blanket policy for the town, covers the buildings, the contents, general liability, law enforcement liability, workers' compensation, police and fire accident policies, a variety of other similar policies. So that's the big insurance coverage for the town. And we're expecting an increase of probably 6%. We work hard during the year by attending training seminars, different employee groups, Public Works, if you were in Maya,
To get credit.
we get credit. We try to promptly pay the premium within, by the end of July to get a discount. So we do work to offset that. We also have funds in here to cover deductibles for, anything, accidents that, there's $500, $1,000 deductible. If there was a liability case, a $7,500 deductible, involves litigation and things like that. So this is really an insurance policy for the town. It's protecting the town. And retirement is a fixed cost, and as you can see, it is going up by almost 13%. But that's an assessment on the Essex Regional Retirement System. And so this is sort of the insurance area of the budget. We still haven't given you the health insurance because we were just trying to work on that today. We'll have that ready for next week.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, you have a motion, Sharon, have a second?
Aye. Second.
Okay, Peter seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay.
That's the end of the budget. Is a constable? Did I miss that?
Constable was with town clerk.
Right. Okay, now we go to the fun part, the Triton budget, town budget, and water budget. On the Triton budget, I don't, Dennis, do you have any?
Yeah, I'm sure Selectman Perry will fill me in on a lot of things too, but I've been attending the budgets along with Peter and Selectman Mary. And we went last week to try, actually, we've been going for the last couple of weeks, and they had the preliminary budget 2 weeks ago. They were proposing to do a 4.21% increase in the budget. According to the Triton, the school committee, to do level funding in keeping all the programs in the school currently the way they have it, they would need 9%, a 9% increase in their budget, which they knew that was unreasonable, that wasn't gonna happen. So they proposed a budget, and it was actually voted on by the school committee on a preliminary budget to reduce it to 4.21%. What that does is it cuts a lot of teachers and a few programs there. And last week they had a communication meeting prior to the school committee meeting, and that was to give us the bad news of what the state was basically saying, is that they're not gonna, they were cutting the budget in addition. Instead of giving $25 per pupil, it was $20 per pupil, which in effect makes the budget even worse. And if you look at the sheet I passed out on the front sheet, the operating assessment. You see that Raleigh gets hit the hardest. With the decline in the state aid and the current budget that the school committee voted on, you see that Raleigh's assessment is gonna go up to 6.49%. I know the selectmen had voted, sent a letter and pushed, and we were there to support them to try to have the school committee reduce the budget to 2.5%, which, I don't think that's just not gonna happen. What ends up happening is, at the school committee meeting, they took into consideration everything that we discussed at the communication meeting, and they wanted to give the superintendent of schools some guidelines for tomorrow night's final vote, because the vote for the budget has to be in by tomorrow so that they can certify it and send it to the cities and towns. Several school committee members were sympathetic to Rowley and asked the superintendent to prepare a budget for 4%. So if you look on the second page, the fourth item down, you see highest assessment at 4%. You see Rowley apportionment would be 4%, which is still more than what we wanted to spend. However, at 4%, you can see to the left that would mean an additional cuts of $635,000 to the school budget in order to get to that number. So tomorrow night, they're gonna present a budget. Hopefully it's gonna be close to the 4%, but they did say that they wanted a list of all the cuts with dollar amounts next to them, so that they could look at each one, and I'm gonna guess that they're gonna put these back into the budget. So I don't see it gonna be 4%. I think it's gonna be something higher than that, but we won't know that till tomorrow night. The bad news here is that, as we know, 2 out of 3 towns vote the budget, were forced to appropriate and do additional cuts. And if you look at their proposed assessment of 4%, Newbury's going down 1.09%, so you know right away that that's an approved budget right there. And so it's just between Rowley and Salisbury. Now, if I took that from the selectmen last week from Salisbury, I think they were gonna put their the budget on an override.
We have a correction on that Salisbury will be part of their regular budget, they're not going to go for an override.
No, would that be at the 4% that if they
They
come
said
in
they
with
would
that?
make whatever necessary cuts
Okay.
to meet the budget for the increase.
Okay,
we're
so
trying to-
I mean, it
Right.
looks like,
That's what they said.
but Salisbury has a lot of other things on the plate, and overrides. They got a library, fire, police, and so they're gonna, I don't know how that's gonna work out in Salisbury, but, it could end up hurting us in the long run. Additional to this is gonna be another meeting on the 24th regarding the track and the improvements they want there. And that basically, if the way it's been voted so far, is that they're gonna spread it amongst the 3 towns equally and over a 20-year period. And I think the assessment was close to, 43,000 or? 73,000, it was originally 90-something.
Right.
If they went by the contract, but they agreed to do it equally at 73,000, so obviously I think that's gonna be on an override as well.
Well, Dennis, on that, I think they agreed to keep it up the same way the assessment's done for the rest of the operating budget, because they don't wanna do it a differently way, because that could create a legal problem, so they decided if they go ahead, because Newbury was the one that was, that they were talking, Salisbury was the one that was gonna benefit if they just split it, because they would be
Yeah.
paying the highest, but they decided to keep
Yeah, that's right, I'm
it the
sorry.
way it is,
Yeah, cause that
not
was a
change it.
lot of discussion for a couple nights on how they should split. At one point, we all agreed that divide it by 3, cause it was a small number, go 20 years, bring it down as low, but then, I think it was it Salisbury or Newbury said, hey, that's gonna open up the
Newbury raised the
contract
question, and then
and-
Salisbury, because Salisbury was the one that was gonna be the big gainer out of it,
Yeah.
but they just backed off and said, we'll go along with, the way it's handled now for the assessment.
But the bad, tomorrow night, the news will come out, and I guess that's what's gonna end up dictating as to how we proceed, with our budget. I
Right.
mean, it doesn't look good at all. you know, school has to function, we have to function, they, you know, they're trying to get to some happy medium, but there is no happy medium. You know, one of the things that they talked about was, you know, they don't want to make it look like the school committee are the bad guys, or we're the bad guys. I mean, bottom line is the state has really cut back, they haven't funded anything over the last 10 years higher than the $8 million that they give the regional district. So basically, you know, we're working with 10-year-old numbers, budget numbers to try to, fund the school budget, which, you know, has gone up dramatically on different issues. I mean, they got healthcare is a driver. I know Karen from the treasurer's office was there. She had a good spreadsheet and tried to explain to them that they could save considerable amount of money, and I have the numbers here, but I don't have them right in front of me. Just like 300,000 in best case scenario, they could do that. However, that would mean that Triton would have to open up their contract with the unions, and, you know, the period of time for this fiscal year is so small that just is not gonna happen, although, the school committee did ask the superintendent to talk to the union to see if we were gonna do these cuts, to see if they would wanna open up the contract and discuss some way of everybody suffering equally. But, I mean, I think that just it's not gonna flourish into anything that we can save, you know, in the budget this year. So with numbers going down, two of the communities have less students going there, and we're paying more in assessment. Salisbury is the only one that's added, I think, 15 students, and I think Riley went down 3, and Newbury went down a little bit
But I
as
wonder
well.
if they can do anything, like, when I was looking at the budget, I noticed, like, they have, what was it, the Spanish, for the language teacher, I think it was Spanish, they had one class that only had nine students, you know, so.
That budget
know,
is so, when you
that's-
look at the I mean, I can give anybody a copy of the budget, I mean, it's online anyway, but it's so complicated, I mean, unless you understood everything that goes on in that school, you wouldn't know how to,
Yeah, but you
where to
can,
cut.
you can tell if you look at a low class size, it's one teacher
Yeah.
for 9 kids. I mean, there could be some consolidation, I think,
Well,
if
it
you're
could be
talking
like
about.
Spanish
money-
4 class and you can't.
Yeah,
Or it
I
might
know,
be an
well,
AP class.
well,
Well,
I know, but,
think-
I mean, but then they talk about, you know, other things, but, you know, they don't, I mean, talk about like eliminating the math program for the, you know, so, I don't know, I mean, I don't know if some of it is, I think, a scare tactic, cause they're posturing a little bit too. And I think, you know, they're gonna come up with something different, you know, tomorrow,
Well, I
that might
think
be more amenable to.
the one area that could be changed, I believe, is the health insurance for retirees.
Well, I discussed that with Brian Forget
And I
last
believe that
year, and he
needs-
kept on saying, cause I says,
He
you know,
said-
GIC, I thought was saving money, because a lot of it, he says, no,
He said no way.
he says they didn't say, you know, he can, but I don't know,
But they're
because.
paying, they pay the employee when they retire, in between their retirement and when
Yeah.
they go on to, is it Medicare or Medicaid, should
By
be
law,
paying
by
it.
law, they can go down to 50%, they don't have to, right now, the apportionment for the teachers, the active teachers, is 70-30. And they would have to negotiate any percentage
For the
changes there,
teachers,
but for
right.
the retirees, they could legally go down to 50%, but the school committee members discussed that, and they said that they just they would not push for that, and they would not vote for that, because they felt that, you know,
That
that's
would be
not
like-
fair to,
It'd be hitting below the waist,
Yeah, I
not
mean-
people who are retired on
Okay,
fixed
but-
incomes or
Excuse me,
stuff
the
like.
town of Raleigh pays 52
I know, well,
and a
Yeah.
52.5 and 47 birthday, so our retirees
Yeah.
live like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's,
Okay, and the Supreme Judicial Court ruled in the Somerville case that retiree health insurance is not part of Chapter 150. So it's not collective bargaining. They can arbitrarily change it, they can drop spouses, they can drop,
well, I know
and
that, I know
and in
that,
between,
yeah.
before they have so many retirees, you need to see the treasurer's spreadsheet, that aren't, of the age of 65, and under Obamacare now, a family can have a child up to the age of 27 on the family plan, and so they have PPOs and HMOs for retirees in the current retirement system there, and the school district, through the 3 towns and the taxpayers, are paying 70% of those costs.
Right.
You do not see that in the private sector anymore.
no.
You do not see that kind of a ratio, and these are supplemental MedX plans for those that are retirees, and then before the age of 65, those are the PPOs and the HMOs on the Blue Cross plan. So those are eventually gonna become the Cadillac plans under Obamacare. So that's the direction that we're all gonna be forced into. It's just not hitting the public sector as fast as it's hit the private sector. But there are no negotiations on that, and that can change if that's gonna benefit the children.
But the school adamant they weren't gonna touch that.
No,
You know, whether they should or they shouldn't, I mean, they just said, we're not gonna go that route.
And that's what,
Feel.
opening discussions with the unions?
No,
that
this
what
is
you
just a
mean?
No, it
retiree.
doesn't.
This is a separate issue.
Retirees.
Right.
The thing that
But
got me
the-
a little irked,
The only
was-
thing is that when you retire, I mean, I can see both sides, but people who are retired, they plan a certain amount, and then if they have
Doesn't-
less taken back, it's kind of, I mean,
That's not the world we live in
I
now.
know,
Right.
well,
mean,
I know,
But I mean, if they can
just-
add a child up to age
You know-
27, I mean, they're adding stuff to
Right.
the
Mm.
retirement. Then, you know,
Well, they
if
could
you
also-
can do that, then you could also cut the percentages.
I just don't think, I think retired folks have,
But you're not
shouldn't be
talking about
messed
people that are
around with and
65, you're
stuff.
talking about people that chose to retire before the social security retirement age. And
Yeah, but that doesn't.
they could make
what
changes,
do you
okay,
mean?
you don't wanna change someone who's retiring today, but start phasing it in,
Yeah,
do something.
Phasing it in is one thing, but don't change something that people
So-
already have is my, at least I think that's, from an ethical point of, I mean, I don't know.
The thing that irked me a little bit too is when they were discussing, where the superintendent asked the school committee for some direction, as to how to prepare the budget. He passed out a sheet, which I didn't, I don't have it right here, I thought he had it. He was saying that maybe the problem is the Triton towns themselves, because their tax rates were cheaper than, he listed 15 other towns, Essex, Hamilton, richer towns that, when you looked at it, the average household tax was, 6,000 or 7,000, where in our district it's like 4,500 or 5. And he kind of, said that it's our fault because we just don't have enough taxes, and I thought that was not a good
With Prop
sheet to
2.5,
show.
we can't just up it,
Dennis, when you were talking about the possibility of opening discussions with the unions, but there was not enough time, right, for this year's budget.
Yeah.
Are they gonna look into it, so that with next year, when this comes up again, they could possibly change that? I mean, okay, they don't have time this year,
Yeah,
but why not
negotiations come up,
start
I think, next year on a lot of things, and they say they will, but after they go through this year, they forget about it, and next year it's the same thing again. So, I would hope that they would look at the health insurance and some of the ways of trimming the budget back. Those are easy numbers to get down to make everything work for everybody. But, it's governed by the school committee as to how they handle that. So the timeframe being that, tomorrow night they have to make a budget. They were gonna talk to the union. If there was some possibility, obviously they would, probably have some kind of, discussions, but I just don't see how it's gonna happen in a short period of time. I think that was just to, make everybody feel good that they were gonna maybe get some concessions from the union. Especially after they're gonna be cutting teachers, so I don't see that
Well,
happening.
they talk about cutting back maybe like professional development or something like that, where it's like a 1%.
Yeah.
Like a 1 day or 2 day that they can cut off in, things like that they can concede, maybe.
I mean, they had a lot of people there from Newbury, screaming
Mhm.
hard, because they were gonna cut, reading teachers for, school, elementary school kids, which I think is an important program, so I don't know if that was a tactic to, to really show the hurt. But, to cut another $635,000 out of that budget is gonna be very interesting to see what their approach is tomorrow night, how they're gonna get to that number, or anywhere as close to that number. I think we're just gonna get hit hard, and I think we're just gonna have to, go the override route, and that's really up to Selectmen, but I just don't see how we're gonna be cutting into our budgets that are 0% right now, so.
Do you have any sense of what they have in their, I don't know what they exactly call it, but like a rainy day fund? I know at one point it was quite high.
Excess and deficiency.
Yes.
I think Karen asked Brian Forget, and he had said unofficially they hadn't got it certified, about 600,000. And they're using, I think,
250.
250, I think it's
Yeah,
in there,
towards this, yeah,
towards their budget.
yeah, to
So I
offset
have
some of the
about
stuff.
300,000 left in the rainy
Okay.
day, yeah. So
Joe, you had a comment?
I have two comments. One comment is that based on the regional agreement, Peter was right that they, on the stadium, that will be based on the enrollments in the 3 towns. But that means that if we did go for the 1/3 for each town, that it would be the same 73,000 for the 20 years. Staying with the regional agreement, which they didn't want to make any changes on, that means that the rate will fluctuate from year to year based on the annual agreements.
Formula, yeah.
I wanted to make a comment on what, on Dennis, on the negotiations on the health, the costs for the Teachers Association. That they could they could open up the contract, they have a contract with the Teachers Association for next year. And they could reopen that for renegotiations, but if any one teacher objected,
Yeah, that's right.
then they could not renegotiate the contract.
And they anticipated that there'd be at least one teacher that would.
Correct.
I don't know, I mean, I raised the issue when they were talking about that, and then in the school committee said, well, you can't, that's not what we're talking about now, but it is. I mean, if some of the towns need to prepare their budgets, they have to know about this athletic field too. If we're having problems passing a regular budget, I don't think we're gonna be passing for a new field too. I mean, one affects the other, so.
Absolutely.
I don't see how this is gonna all play out, cause it's a lot of money. The field is almost $4 million for the athletic field too.
3.8.
So I don't see how we're gonna get that approved if, you're going ahead, they just spent all this money on surveys, on engineering plans already. Probably spent about $300,000 or $400,000 already, so. I don't know, I hope they're not.
Some people will vote for the fields and some people won't vote for the budget. I mean, it'll be 2 separate items and you'd be
Well,
surprised
it's
how
true,
people
but it's
vote,
gonna
you know.
come
I-
out of people's wallet, it doesn't matter if it's X or Y, it's still gonna come out of, people's wallet.
I mean,
whatever
I
they
think they
wanna
were
do.
assuming that the field was it really is a necessity, but I think, they were chugging ahead, not knowing how the operating budget was gonna work, and then when the
Mhm.
governor decided to cut the budget, now
yeah,
everything's
that-
just, up in the air right now.
Well, no doubt the governor's cuts made the thing go way out of skew now, for.
But the difference in the overrides is that if we do have a school override, if Newbury and Salisbury pass it, then we're stuck paying it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need an
But
override,
if we
yeah.
put in an override for the stadium, and that is defeated, only one town has to defeat it out of the 3, and then the stadium is defeated. So that would not be paid.
You say it's a different rule for
Right.
the field versus.
It's not a
Well,
majority, it's not a majority, because if one says no, then everybody doesn't.
For the stadium.
It's gone.
It's killed.
The stadium's gone.
It's a borrowing issue,
Yeah.
Yeah, they come out of,
so that's totally different. I think that actually, we're concerned, even if we get through this, this budget season and somehow fund this budget, I think what we've been looking at is that we really need to think of fiscal 17 and 18, the direction that these budgets are increased. Now, their health insurance went up by 11%, so when, like I said, we're talking about retirees now. These aren't, retirees aren't affecting the current budget, and the schools and the teachers and things. 11% when you have a 70-30 ratio, and you've got so many retirees that aren't even on the MedX plan because they're not eligible to get the supplement. They're on the HMO and PPOs. That's a big amount of money out of their budget. And, in fiscal 14, our assessment went up $209,000. In fiscal 15, $381,000. Now we're looking at $540,000. If we get through this year, picking up the nickels off the floor and getting this absorbed in our budget, what's going to happen in 17 and 18 when you're looking at really a $30 million Triton Regional School District and enrollments that are just cascading down?
Yep.
We had, at the request of the Vice Chairman Perry, had the DOE, and now it's called DESC, review our assessment calculation, and they went through it. Representative Brad Hill did this for us, and they said it was correct, and there were two driving reasons. We're seeing sort of a correction now. Newbury has always been in the middle. Their population enrollment is going down faster than Rowley's. Secondly, the minimum local contribution for Rowley has gone up by, I think it's 170,000, and Newbury's is going down. So I think in 2 years, Rowley is going to be in the middle. And so if you look at the budget, Newbury pays 9 million. We're at the bottom, and even though we have this huge assessment, we're still on the bottom. I think we're starting to be neck and neck with Newbury because they're going down faster. Maybe they don't have the subdivisions that we have that have some young families still in them. They maybe have more empty nesters and people out of school, but their enrollment's going down pretty fast. And ours is too, just not as fast. And Salisbury's basically staying even.
Yeah, they went up
just-
3 students.
Yeah, and then they're always in the highest tier. So we're more concerned about what the future's gonna be in 17 and 18 and maybe 19.
Right.
Because you're looking at what potentially could be $10 million assessment, that we pay.
Do we have to change the form? I mean,
Out
I
of
know
a
you've discussed
$14 or
that.
$15 million budget,
Yeah.
where we have all that revenue going up there, and where we're not able to expand operationally. We've been able to do some capital things, some with CPA money, some with our capital borrowing plans that we have, some we can buy a truck here or there, but we have to look at a fire department, where the chief said last night, he's got him and 2 full-time captains, he's on a truck. We need to start expanding some departments soon, and we won't have the ability to do that, where we need to, if this kind of increase keeps going on. So,
I remember last year, this is something we were talking about, maybe trying to change that formula, and
There
I
is
know
some
that's a
group,
lot
I
of
know.
work, and, I mean, I think that's the only way to try to distribute it more equally amongst the 3 towns, otherwise I think it's gonna fall apart. I
They
mean,
have had hearings on it, regional hearings throughout the state, and they're still working on the foundation formula. But the reason, some background just to why I went to Brad Hill and Bruce Tarr on the numbers that we got from the state that affected the budget was that I think it was 2 years ago, the Newbury assessment was very low. And our assessment was high and Salisbury was high. And then we found out in June of that year, after town meeting, that DOE had made a mistake. And that Salisbury's should have been $130,000 lower, and Rowley should have been $130,000 lower, and Newbury should have been $260,000 higher. But because it was after the fact, Newbury was able to say, gee, that's too bad. So I thought if we got the advantage and we would go after making sure that to the best we could, that we would make sure that the formula was used correctly, that there wasn't a mistake, that they will correct in June.
years ago, the superintendent would come and speak to us, Superintendent Halloran. She'd come right down here, talk to us. She'd meet with 3 towns individually, get an idea. She'd build her budget around what she thought was practical for revenues, and I don't have that experience anymore. Because, if we enter into contract negotiations with any one of our unions, we need to know what we can afford to put on the table, because we certainly don't want to negotiate something and then lay off union members. I don't know, they build a budget about what they need, but the revenue side doesn't seem to be any consequence. So I don't know, if they're signing union contracts, they're not speaking to the town, at least this town, about the ability to fund that in years 1, 2, 3 of a contract. And we don't even know what the wage increases are. We heard it was about 3%. So, you know, they're giving out wage increases
I
and
think it was
things
1.9
like
or
that.
something, or 1.5.
Well, there's step increases.
Right, yeah, the step increase,
a
if you
step
add
spread
that,
plus
but the
cost of living.
I think is about 1.5 or
I
9
had
or
heard
something.
from somebody else that it was 3%.
Well, I looked at it last week and it wasn't 3, it was 3% when you conclude the steps too.
Yeah, that's
You
what I'm
know,
talking about.
Yeah, but not everybody gets steps, but I know, I mean.
Yeah, I don't know how many
Ah.
steps there are in their step schedule, I have no idea.
Oh.
I understand, but I'm just saying, you know, that's, you know, these are the things that they have to pay in the budget.
Okay, let's move on to the town omnibus budget. Any discussion there?
I think we kinda hit it, we gotta plug everything,
than-
look at it and wait for the school budget.
Approve what it is and then
See
make
what,
adjustments.
yeah, I think so, we'll have more information after tomorrow.
Okay, now for the real treat, the water budget. You waited so long for this, and now. I think we all have preliminaries on the water budget.
I just have one question. They're doing a rate study, right? See what
Yes.
the rates are gonna be?
They are
Now,
doing
should we wait for that so that, I mean, because they're gonna actually try to fund this budget through the rates.
the information that was discussed tonight, the only three things that were decided tonight, and the rate study was one of the discussions, is they have to have the capital plan approved before they can send it to whomever is doing the rate study by Friday. And then the rate study will continue on in the process, and I do not know when they would be able to expect a result.
Yeah, because I mean, I was at one of those meetings and I know Mary Beth had a good capital plan because there's a lot of things that weren't getting done. And she's now adding them into the budget. And that's the same thing I'm trying to do with the town departments, is what do we got that's sitting there that we don't see, or we've just been saying, well, I know that's not gonna work.
Right.
So if they put her budget in there, that's gonna really spike the rates, I would think.
For next year's capital plan, one of the few things that was determined by the time that we had to leave, initial request was for $455,000.
I wish the town had that.
Yeah, and actually, two of them are very important, but they did wean it down to 317,000 from the 455, and that's about 2/3 through your packet. So they did reduce that. What they did reduce was the vehicle replacement of 65,000, they took that down to 52. And then the bottom line for $100,000, that was to improve the drainage pave-in.
Yeah.
They had $60,000 that was approved
Yeah, that's
at
right,
town
yeah.
meeting last year, so that has been negated to 40,000. And then Prospect Hill is apparently in worse than poor shape, trying to get up and down that hill. And then there has been, Mary Beth said, some traces of people being up there, so the security of it is also, they had asked for $140,000 primarily to make it accessible, add a security gate and a security fence. And the board took that down to 70,000 or 80,000?
75,000.
75,000. So that brings the total request from 455 down to 317.
Are these expenses for a year, or are these supposed to be
That's-
amortized over?
That's the capital plan.
Yeah, but what is it,
and
cause it
they're-
doesn't tell me how many years or anything, like the fence,
Well,
there's
what-
$140,000.
There was additional discussion on whether they would outright buy the vehicle and then float the remainder in a loan. Karen Summit was there and gave them a couple of options.
Yeah, I think they were gonna float the rest of the things over 5 years.
5 years.
The rest of the things, meaning what's on here?
Everything except the truck. The truck they were going to add as a, year purchase rather than amortize it over 5 years.
Which one's the truck, the F-350?
F-350 was,
F-350.
wow.
It says here, vehicle replaced and recommended every 5 years.
And, that F-350 request went down from, what, 65 to 52.
No,
So
the-
Okay.
No, the expenses, so these, like, this isn't gonna be the, I mean, it's the capital plan for,
Capital plan is now at 317,
for how
and that
many?
was approved.
And this is for 5 years, we're saying.
No, that's
The
for next
intent
year.
is that this is for next year's capital plan. Then she has the capital plan expenses for the following years. This is the capital plan they're working with right now for this year.
Did they need both those
So,
years to, for the rate study, or is the rate study just taking FY16 capital?
I do not know the answer to that. Do you know, Larry, was that discussed?
It wasn't discussed. I just assumed from what they were saying is that they just needed it for
FY16?
16.
'Cause I mean, looking at the numbers for 17,
Yeah, it's
it's
713,000.
800,000 or whatever, I mean, you know, again, needed things, but, you know,
Right.
I believe the leading indicator of the request for the rate study is that we have had almost a full year of the treatment plant, and now they're looking at expenses and seeing what is necessary to fund that along with the entire budget. So as of when we had to leave, that was the only thing that, oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. If you'll flip to the second page, for fiscal year 16 salaries, they are adding,
for another person or something.
they are, right, they are
Heavy
adding
equipment operator.
the heavy equipment operator. That is, they have eliminated, the seasonal labor position, and that will help fund that. They have a backhoe that no one in the department can use, so they have to sub that out, and they're paying a lot of money to, in the event of a break or something, they are subbing that out because no one in the department.
They don't have a license, an operator, a hoisting license?
So,
Wouldn't that be in their job description, you would
Well,
think?
I actually,
Well-
this is an existing job description,
Mhm.
so, it was filled at one point, and I actually thought that the primary operator
The
had that.
primary operator
oh, he
can.
he can.
Okay, but the problem is that
Mhm.
he's running the
He's in
water
the treatment-
treatment
He's in the
plant.
treatment plant,
So
so they would have to remove the
they'd have to
personnel
shut
from
down the
They'd
plant.
have to shut the
Mhm.
plant. So, from what they're paying for contract services, combined with the elimination of the seasonal laborer, they believe will pay for this new position, which is not exclusively for running the backhoes, for a variety of other
Right.
services.
Right, he would be, doing the maintenance as far as like the hydrant repairs, and there's like 7 hydrants that are out of service right now. Gate valve repairs, and I think there's about 6 gate valves that, are inoperative. Customer service as far as making the connections there, down to even mowing the grass.
Meters, reading the
So-
meters and.
Have they squared away the issue of people not paying the water bills? I know that, you know, the revenue is down. And I know the last meeting I went to, it had come back a little bit, but I haven't heard
I've
the
not
latest
heard
on
an
that.
update about that, have you, Larry? I've not.
There was something that I heard that, there was like 51 liens put on properties. I think 8 of them have been cleared, but I don't know to what extent, to what dollar amount. But that's still an open issue, that there are those, and also another thing that this equipment operator could look at would be there's 48 water bills that are zero. And they don't know why, and a certain amount of those, the people just won't let them on the property to see if the meter doesn't work or whatever, but, he would be involved in resolving those, zero meter readings and stuff. But as far as what you had, asked about, I don't have any other information on that.
Is this water superintendent rating here double? Like, I don't know, 'cause here on the first page it has $80,000, 884, and then it's, then it has nothing for budget man, because they don't have a budget business manager anymore, but then it has water department wages, 331, but then this total on this page is
This.
331, and it includes the
Oh, no,
superintendent.
it
This
doesn't
is-
include the,
Yeah,
It
this
don't
is-
include the
no,
superintendent?
it doesn't
This
include the
is, read this,
superintendent.
total with the new equipment operator would be this figure.
Yeah.
If they chose not to
Well, no,
make that place,
Yeah, I know.
that's what the
But I'm
figure
talking,
would
is
be.
it, so who's the equipment operator? It's not the superintendent, is it?
No.
I'm talking about
No.
the superintendent right now.
And the
No.
salary's there, but-
I'm talking about why is the superintendent on the first page here, and then it has 331,000 for water department wages. Is the water department wages down here at 331,963 include the superintendent?
No,
No,
It doesn't,
No.
but,
No.
and that's why it's in the
Yeah,
bracket.
yeah.
oh,
No,
that's why they put that, okay. It's not on this side,
Right.
I didn't catch it over there,
right,
all right.
that's confusing.
yeah, I
Okay.
don't like that setup either.
Should really be an asterisk or something to say,
Yeah.
for a footnote instead of just putting a box
So
like
they were
that.
continuing their meeting, when Larry and I had to leave, and if they had not gotten through everything they wanted to get through this evening, they will be having a meeting Thursday night to finish off the budget.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, you're planning now to have the water board in on Tuesday, right? I think the
yes,
plan was, to try to get them to the selectmen on Monday and then come on Tuesday. Or, the chairman
Right.
or,
Tuesday the
Can we
17th.
give them a little bit of time, because this is a very intense budget, and I think, with the situation with the water board, we really should go through this and pick it apart, and ask the questions, make sure that the numbers that they're proposing, they feel comfortable, there was some thought behind it, there was some rationale to that. I know they're still with the new treatment plant, there's still some numbers that you might have to anticipate, but you've got some track
They
record to
have
this
some
point.
history now.
And I just want to make sure that the water commissioners, fully believe that this is a good budget, and we understand it as well,
Right.
Do we need a longer time frame than 10 or 15 minutes?
Yes, definitely.
because, if you get the highway, the building inspector said he would come in if you wanted him. And some, we're trying to clean up the rest of the budgets.
Right.
Go over the omnibus, budget, making sure after we get the school thing settled. So that would be last on your agenda then, or first on the agenda, I don't know,
Well, I'd say as far as the scheduled appointments, make it the last
Yeah.
scheduled appointment,
Yeah,
so that
because
we
we don't
can.
know what it's gonna be,
So we don't make other people wait.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just thinking of the other, if I get Pat Snow and Ken Ward in here, I
Right,
don't think you want them waiting, so,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
okay,
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
On the overhead page, on the percentages, that seems really out of whack, or I'm missing something. For example, on the county retirement, in fiscal year 15, it goes from 22,967 to 25,959. So it went up $2,992, but yet it says it's 125.61% increase.
I haven't checked her, the detail of that budget yet, so I know it's still in
Okay.
draft form.
Yeah,
So
all
she
the
was working-
percentages, like, up 155%, up 271%. So something
Maybe
is
she
definitely.
didn't put a decimal point in.
Or does that cover
Well,
the new
it-
position maybe in there too?
Yeah,
I
Could
don't
there
know.
were
be,
two new hires this year.
I'm not sure, it could be related to that, it could be related, of course, the pension costs are going up. townwide, they have to pay their portion of it.
Right here. They do, it's.
I'm
Does
not
she
sure,
have
I
any-
don't,
does she have
and
any
I don't have
backup?
it in front of me.
Does she have any backup to these numbers, you know, that
She-
maybe we could,
The,
she could share with us, you know?
The overhead, actually, that comes from, accounting and treasurer, so I can,
Okay.
Yeah, for example, the total, for fiscal year 15, it's 89,449, and then it drops to 83,178 for fiscal year 16, but yet it says an increase of 138%.
could be a mistake.
It's actually
Yeah.
supposed to be a
Yes.
decrease of,
Yeah,
10% or whatever.
she could have inserted a column and then,
Yeah, so I
changed
just
that
pointing that
formula.
out.
Okay, so that's.
They're all wrong on this page. on
That's the
overhead.
overhead one?
Yes.
Okay.
Good pickup.
All right, any other comments on the water budget? And we move to the minutes of January 20th. Item 8.
I don't have that page.
I think it's-
I saw one typo. I don't have that with me. Could I just,
Sure.
I did see a typo in here on one of the words, which is gonna be changed. Let's see. There was a sentence where the word of was there twice, but one of the words should say off, not of, and I'm not spotting it right now. But one of the words has to be changed to say off. If anybody else sees it, there are two ofs in that sentence.
I
Okay.
read it online, so
I did too.
didn't notice that.
I did too.
I didn't notice it either.
I have it here.
We'll just put in as a brain teaser to see if you can make,
No,
of on one line and the
Right,
next
okay,
line
it's
have
like a
the of.
legitimate
I
word.
wasn't gonna pick up on it this time.
Not spotting it
How,
now.
how are the boilers doing at the school? Do anybody know? Because I see one of the things that was discussed was the Pine Grove School boilers. Do they holding up pretty well?
I haven't heard anything,
I mean, with all the cold weather we had, I mean, that was,
yeah.
No news is good news when it comes
yeah,
to
oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that they were fabricating the flange or the part, but I haven't heard anything from there.
Well, we know they haven't closed the school down for
Right.
that. They've closed it down for everything else.
It hasn't exploded as yet.
Let's hope we don't go there. I think our blanket liability insurance is gonna explain.
Well, what we'll do is,
Yeah.
Give it
If
her-
they do a search for the word of, one of the
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
ofs is supposed to be off.
Okay, is that
Okay.
what Julie,
I'm sorry, I
emailed
don't
you
can
today?
spot it.
So
Uh,
do everyone else
right.
copied on it? I'll
right,
just do a search for, the of should be an off, or the off should be.
Yeah,
an
it's a
off?
sentence, you'll see it, because you'll see the word, it says of something, of, and one is should say, off of,
Okay,
or something like that.
Deb, just give me a copy.
well, this is thorough, you fix it all up.
I used to be an editor, but I can't spot it tonight. I saw it online.
okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes with the correction?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Made, seconded,
Who seconded
any
that?
other
I did.
discussion? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next thing will be the next meeting.
Next Tuesday?
Is that the last night for a review of budgets?
I still might find
Is
it.
that the last night for the budgets? Because
It
we
was-
have to, we're closing the warrant on the 20th,
The
is it?
annual, yeah, the budget will stay open
Okay.
Until the
it's-
24th.
It's on there, it's just been plugged in.
Then we go to warrant, the
Yeah,
warrant
warrant
with the articles.
Okay,
Then we
so,
go to special.
Yeah, we'll do annual budget, until everything is done, I don't know. It's gonna
There
be,
might be some rework.
okay, next meeting the 17th at 7:15. Okay, have a motion to adjourn, please. Okay. Two.
Everyone was in line.
All right, have a second?
I'll second.
second, Paul. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.